Terri Elliott, Gedling School Games Organiser.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. So can I just move on from this first slide, because while I'm talking to start with, I just want to bring up some of the stats and the benefits and facts. Sarah came to me and said, oh, wouldn't it be nice if more people could walk to school? And at the beginning of actually having those conversations, my interest was very much about pushing the Active 60 agenda and kind of saying, yeah, okay, this is a nice idea. It makes sense to do. What's in it for me? Interestingly, when putting all the kind of paperwork together to try and send to schools to get schools on board, I found the facts really interesting. And the thing that sticks with me the most is the fact at the bottom of here that says, children who walk, cycle and scooter from an early age have better road sense and improved ability to travel independently. And that has really stuck with me throughout this entire project. And it is the real reason that I keep coming back to it. And when I speak to schools now, I really push the idea, and with parents, that actually this is really important, not just for our physical activity, but actually for the future of our children. So on average, about 51% of the junior school population actually travels by foot to school. We want that to be a higher percentage. We understand that one of the major issues is about road safety. So when we were putting together our project, we had all of those things in mind. Okay, so just want to go through really quickly the purpose of the project, which was to use active travel as a tool to improve road safety, health and learning. Our partners on the project obviously are Sarah from Whatnot, who is basically the lead on the project and the idea person. As I said, I then got involved as the school games organiser, wanting to push the agenda with schools. We had Via, who is the road safety team, and the school that we worked with was Standhill Infants. Now, interestingly, when it came to approaching the school, the only reason that Standhill actually got on board with us was when Sarah said to them, this is not about active travel, but what we can do for you is we can help you meet your carbon footprint targets. So they have a carbon action plan, and it's about actually, we want to help you meet those particular targets. And suddenly the school that wasn't answering calls then got involved with us. Okay, so what I want to do while I've got everybody on the meeting is just really quickly go through the things that we did in this project. And it was a 3-phase project that we delivered. And the first phase was all about data collection. We worked with the school, we did a site audit, so we had a look at what the school facilities were and also the roads around the school. We then did a road safety audit. We spent some time outside of the school, after school, kind of monitoring the traffic and how people were moving. We spoke to parents, and as you can see, we spoke to the school crossing patrol as well, and that gave us quite a lot of interesting information. The final thing that we did, and the most important thing, was a travel audit, and we did 3 travel audits. One was a survey that we sent to parents, and the take up on that wasn't brilliant, but the information that we gained was really useful. We sent a similar survey to teachers. Again, the take up wasn't brilliant, but it was quite useful to get that information. And Sarah and I went into the school and we did active travel surveys with the children. One of the reasons we wanted to do active surveying was because we felt it was really important, if we're going and we're promoting an active agenda, we really need to kind of embed that into everything that we're doing. So we created a series of questions that could be answered in an active way. So move into this location if this is the answer to the question. Catch the ball before providing me the answer to the question. The data took quite a while to collect, and mostly it took a slightly longer to analyse. It was really, really useful to actually find out what the children thought and what the parents thought. And we found that one of the biggest challenges with walking to school from a parent's perspective is time. I don't have time to do this, was their big thing. We don't have time, we're in a rush, it's not convenient. The children also highlighted that when it rains, nobody walks. We can't possibly go out in the rain, that's not something that we do, which was really interesting. And we talked to the children about what do you see on your journey to school? So if we're promoting the journeys to school, if we're looking at different methods, what do you see? And the biggest factor that we found here was the enjoyment from walking to school comes from spending time with parents, it comes from scooting and travelling fast. But what they see on their journeys, those children that are travelling by foot are seeing flowers, they're seeing people, they're having conversations, they're seeing a blue sky. the people that are travelling by car, they're seeing buildings, they're seeing pavements. So their outlook is completely different. Those children are arriving at school having already had conversations and interactions, having discussed with their friends their plans. And that's really, really important that we kind of acknowledge the difference in how it makes us feel when we travel actively. Okay, so the second phase of our project was the road safety education phase. We brought in VIA, which is the road safety team, to do a road safety workshop with every member of the school. So in total, you're looking at 120 children. We did a 15-minute session with the early years setting and 30 minutes with every other class. That means that by the end, when we wanted those children to go out, we'd basically given them the tools to do it in a safe manner. And that's really important because the areas around schools are perceived to be quite dangerous. Off the back of the road safety, we wanted the children to engage with their families, and so I created a poster competition. It was a really simple concept of you spend time inside school or outside of school and you design a poster, and then we're going to take those posters and we're going to put the posters up in the local environment. So we got the children to design the posters. I collected the posters from school. I then went out to the local community and put those posters up. And we created 11 different posters that were then turned into A3 posters. And they contained information and encouragement for children to be active during Walk to School week. As you can see from the picture on the slide, those pictures and those posters were put up around the school as well as around the neighbourhood. The final thing that we did, so phase 3 with our project, was about promoting active travel, and everything that we did was designed to build up to Walk to School week. So on the 18th of May, we kind of built our project with the intention of having this as our final showcase event and our week. One of the things that we did was we provided the pack to schools. So it had all of the Walk Not Festival resources, it had the bingo cards, and we also created tracker activity things so that we could track children's participation. There were certificates, there were stickers that would be given out, and there was a letter that went to parents explaining everything that we did. So as you can see, impact and outcomes wise, the initial impact is 120 children now have road safety training that they didn't have at the start of this project. When you look at the actual data that was collected, you can see there are some positives and there are some negatives. So if we looked at class 1, when we went in and we did our surveys, it turned out that 80% of those children said that they'd walked to school that day. Now, interestingly, when asked about why they were walking, most of those children said they didn't have cars, which when we then go back and do our surveying during Walk to School week, does raise the question, if these children don't physically own a car, how did so many more of them manage to travel by car during that particular week? And that's something we probably need to go back and investigate because we don't have that answer. So we have the data, but we didn't go back in afterwards and ask some more questions, and that's probably something that I need to do. The really positives are, if you think back to when I brought up that first slide, one of the things that I spoke about was that 51% of children walk to school. But when we look at this particular score, there are so many more days when the numbers are above 51. So we've got 57 reoccurring. We've got a 67. Class 4 got to the point where 87% of their children were travelling in an active way during the week where we were pushing that. That's a massive improvement, and it's something that actually we can be really proud of from a project perspective, that you kind of think, yeah, are we making a difference? Well, if we've gone from 58% of people participating in something to 83 and 87%, yes, the work that we have done has made a difference. Now, when we look at the bigger outcomes, all of the data that we collected from the school was put together in a project report, and we did give that to the school, and we said, okay, this is the information that you've got, and you can do with that as you want to. The school was able to tick off a number of things from their climate action plan, which has been really useful to them. And we have created that Walk to School pack. Now, the pack has been amazing because we've been able to take the things that we've done from this project and pass that information to 32 schools within the area. So we've created resources for one school, but actually we've distributed those to 32 schools. And I know from visiting those schools since then that actually some of those schools are either taking the resources that we had or developing their own resources off the back of it. I've been speaking to Sarah recently about the learning from the project, the who, the what, the where and the when and the how. And we know going forward that if we wanted to do a similar project again, how to target the score. Well, we don't need to talk about being physically active, but we do need to talk about carbon action plans. How do we get people to be more active? Well, the school is telling us that certificates of rewards would have been a really useful thing because that's what people engage with. They really love the bingo cards. When we need to do it on dry days, there's absolutely no reason for us to do this on a rainy day. And we know from the data that we collected, and it's really obvious that when it rains, people choose to get in their cars. So we need to pick the sunny times. How? We probably want to be promoting scooting because the area that we worked in, it was so hilly. There was no possible way that we were going to get a massive take up on biking. And therefore, for me, if I was going to go back to that school and say, what is our learning from this? How do we engage more people? We need to promote scooting. Scooting has a massive benefit because what we can do is we can get in our cars to do part of the journey, and then the children can scoot the rest of the way. That allows us to park further away, and it means we can just do something a little bit better. We have got some ripple effects as well from this particular project, and I'm hoping that Sarah will be able to dip back into that for me in a minute because I think she knows a little bit more about that than I do. So from a next step perspective, we're talking about Standhill Infants. As I said, we need to go back to the school. We need to check in on long-term behaviour change. The next steps for us would be to revise and review the project that we did, make some changes, and then make sure that they're fit for purpose for distribution in the future. Share our learning, talk about our motivations, how we engage the parents, the weather, and also engage the wider audience. So the sharing of the project obviously starts here today. The next things that I'm going to do is I'm going to be working with the schools in my area to say, how do we promote this? And specifically in the secondary schools, how do we take the learning that we've got, the education that we provided, and how do we share that with our secondary schools? Okay, very sorry, that was very fast, and I am going to pass back to Sarah, and I'm also going to have to apologise because I need to be in a classroom.
Thank you so much for your time on this, Terri.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions? No? It was really lovely. It was really lovely seeing the children being involved, and then since then we've had another school that was talking about their Walk Will Win active travel to school project that they're doing, where every week they're encouraging their children to travel actively to school, and then they have like a little presentation on the Friday along with their attendance certificate, presenting a little active travel to school certificate as well. And also hearing from other schools in the city and county about them wanting to be involved in this. Wendy, do you have a question?
Yeah, well, more a question and comment. I think Terri's gone, hasn't she? So unfortunately she won't hear this, but just think for me, the big kind of learning and takeaway there was that schools engage more when thinking about their climate action plans, because that's something they do now and they, are held account for. So I think that's kind of trying to encourage schools to, get children walking to school more for years and years. To hear that the climate action plan was kind of the mover there was really, really kind of. Thank you. I'll take that away.
Yeah. And I think the other thing that really worked was that all the materials were there. So it was dead easy for the school to engage because basically, Terri had drafted all the letters that they could send out. She'd done all the surveys. She'd done all the, the information on the poster competition or what have you. So it was just, the road safety education team went in and delivered their workshop. We went in and delivered the interactive workshop. They didn't really have to do anything other than say, please come in and engage with us. Wonderful. Thank you very much.